The algorithm below is used to simulate the result of flipping a coin 4 times. Consider the goal of determining whether the simulation resulted in an equal number of heads and tails. So step 1, initialize the variables head counter and flip counter to 0. So initially they are 0. Step 2, a variable coin flip, so this coin flip is going to have changing values, is randomly assigned a value of either 0 or 1. So coin flip is either 0 or 1. If coin flip has the value 0, the coin flip result is heads. So heads counter is incremented by 1. So this probably implies that tails is when coin flip has a value of 1. Step 3, increment the value of flip counter by 1. So flip counter is going to keep track of how many times we've flipped the coin. So after we flip it, step 3 always increments it by 1. Repeat steps 2 and 3 until flip counter equals 4. So we're going to repeat flipping the coin, changing the head, adding counter, adding 1 to head counter if the value of coin flip is 0, meaning the result is heads, and then add 1 to the flip counter every time until it equals 4. So we're really just going to be flipping 4 coins. So we're going to have like 4 total at the end. It's really just changing the value of coin flip every time, but we can pretend that it's 4 different coins. Following execution of the algorithm, which of the following expressions indicates that the simulation resulted in an equal number of heads and tails? So an equal number of heads and tails. So that basically means you have heads, and tails, or you just have 2 heads or 2 tails. It doesn't matter the order as long as they are equals. That means if you have 4 coins, that means you have 2 heads and 2 tails. You can't flip a coin and not get either of the values. So every coin gets a value, either heads or tails. So if coin flip equals 1, that doesn't tell us that the number of heads and tails is equal. Coin flip is either just 0 or 1, and it tells us whether the last coin we flipped was heads or tails. So like if this was the last coin we flipped, then coin flip would just equal 1. And that just tells us the last coin. It doesn't tell us anything about the previous coins. So coin flip doesn't tell us that there's an equal number of heads and tails after flipping the coin 4 times. Flip counter equals 1. Flip counter just counts how many times we flipped. It doesn't tell us the results of our flips at all. We just increment flip counter every time we flip the coin. This allows us to stop the program after we reach 4 flips. So flip counter doesn't tell us anything other than the amount of times we flip the coin. So flip counter equals 1 just means we flipped 1 time. And the same for C. Flip counter equals 2 just means we flipped the coin 2 times. D says head counter or heads counter equals 2. This is correct, because if heads counter equals 2, then that means tails has to also be 2. Because if we only increment head counter when we encounter heads, meaning coin flip gives us a value of 0. And if we get head counter equals 2 at the end, that means the other 2 flips must have been tails. And that means that there were an equal number of heads and tails when flipping the coin 4 times. So D is the correct answer.